You're watching South Asia Newsline, and here are the top stories we are tracking for you on Wednesday, the 2nd of April. Government and opposition clash as Waqf Bill hits India's parliament. Afghan refugees lament forced removal from Pakistan. Nepal government warns public against monarchist protests amid rising unrest. And now, for all the details. Tense face-off between the opposition and the treasury was witnessed on Wednesday, as the Indian government on Wednesday discussed the Waqf Amendment Bill in the Lok Sabha, aiming to bring key reforms to the administration and management of Waqf properties across the country. While the government has called the bill as a step towards transparency, opposition has termed it as overreach of power. We have a report.
Tense face-off between opposition and Treasury was witnessed on Wednesday as the Indian government tabled the Waqf Amendment Bill for discussion and passage, following its clearance from the Joint Parliamentary Committee. During the discussion in Lok Sabha, Union Minority Affairs Minister Kiren Rijiju said the bill has no religious intent and added there was no rationale to assert that non-Muslims were interrogating laws for Muslims. Highlighting the increase of Waqf properties from 4.9 lakh to 8.72 lakh, the Union Minister said, if these properties were managed properly, it would not only have improved the lives of Muslims, but also transformed the destiny of the entire country. When our country has the largest Waqf property in the world, why hasn't it been used for the education, medical treatment, skill development and income generation of poor Muslims? He added. In a shocking claim, Rijiju said had the Modi government wasn't elected in 2014, the previous Congress government would have given Parliament and airport lands to the Waqf.
मेडिकल ट्रीटमेंट के लिए, स्किलिंग के लिए, इनकम जनरेशन के लिए क्यों काम नहीं हुआ आज तक बताइए। ये दुनिया का सबसे बड़ा वक्फ प्रॉपर्टी अगर हिंदुस्तान में है तो उस प्रॉपर्टी से गरीबों का उत्थान के लिए, लोगों का भला के लिए अगर ये सरकार नरेंद्र मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में गरीब मुसलमानों के लिए काम कर रहा है तो इसमें आपत्ति क्यों होना चाहिए, आप लोग बताइए।
In response, Deputy Leader of Opposition Gaurav Gogoi said the bill dilutes the constitution, divides the Indian society and disenfranchise minorities. He alleged not a single amendment suggested by the opposition has been adopted and called the bill as interference in the matter of religion. Samajwadi Party chief Akhilesh Yadav also criticized the bill, calling it an opportunity for the Saffron Party to create polarization. He added the bill is brought by the BJP government only to hide its failures.
From mosques and markets to schools and hospitals, Waqf assets are spread across the country, and the Waqf Board Amendment Bill 2024 is set to change how they are managed. But what exactly is Waqf, and why is this bill making headlines? Let's break it down for you.
Imagine a centuries-old mosque, a bustling market, a school, or even a hospital, all under the umbrella of Waqf properties. These lands, meant for public welfare, are now at the heart of a major legal and political debate.
This bill excludes tribunal decision from being final.
The Waqf Board Bill, a law that aims to regulate, protect and manage these assets more efficiently, is in the spotlight. But what does this bill really mean? And why is it making headlines? ANI explains. What is Waqf? In simple terms, Waqf is a charitable endowment under Islamic law, where land or assets are donated for religious, educational or social welfare purposes. These properties are meant for the greater good, but issues like mismanagement and legal disputes arise. That's where Waqf boards come in. The Waqf Board in India manages around 940,000 acres across 870,000 properties, valued at rupees 1.2 lakh crore, that is 144.6 billion US, making it the third largest landowner in India after the railways and armed forces. Waqf boards oversee properties, ensuring proper use, rent collection and preventing encroachments. But issues like corruption and mismanagement have made their functioning controversial, leading ultimately to the Waqf Board bill aimed at addressing these problems. The Waqf bill aims to increase transparency by creating a digitized database of Waqf properties, making tracking and management easier. It introduces stricter audits and financial oversight to curb corruption and mismanagement. It also streamlines dispute resolution through special tribunals, ensuring faster resolution. Additionally, it promotes public participation in decision-making, reducing bureaucratic interference. Contrary to some beliefs, the central government is not revoking Waqf properties, but reviewing wrongly classified lands. Waqf property surveys will continue under strict authorities with improved accuracy. The bill seeks better transparency and management, not control. The Waqf boards of some states like Uttar Pradesh, Telangana and Kerala are opposing the bill, fearing it undermines autonomy and increases government control. Critics argue that groups like Jamiat Ulema-e-Hind and Jamaat-e-Islami have exploited Waqf properties for personal gain, hindering their intended purpose, which was charity. The bill aims to restore proper management and ensure Waqf properties serve the needy while upholding India's syncretic traditions. The Joint Parliamentary Committee on the Waqf Amendment Bill 2024 has already passed the bill, addressing transparency, accountability and improved management of Waqf properties.
लोग कहते हैं कि कुछ लोग मुसलमानों का मस्जिदें, कब्रिस्तान और मुसलमानों का जमीन जायदाद छीन लिया जाएगा, ऐसा क्यों बोलते हैं? मुझे समझ में नहीं आ रहा है कि वक्फ कानून आजादी से पहले भी था हिंदुस्तान में, आजादी के बाद में भी ये कानून मौजूद है.
Opposition parties argue that the bill grants excessive power to the government, calling it an attack on the constitution and potentially sidelining traditional custodians of Waqf properties.
ये हमारे संविधान पर आक्रमण है और जिस तरीके से जेपीसी चलाया गया, अंत में जो 44 अमेंडमेंट से 44 संशोधन थे वक्फ एक्ट 2013 में, और पहली बार ये हुआ कि समिति में क्लॉज बाय क्लॉज चर्चा नहीं हो पाई. जब कमेटी में एक बिल रेफर किया जाता है, एक विधेयक जाता है, हर एक संशोधन पर चर्चा होती है.
Supporters of the Waqf Amendment Bill argue that it protects Waqf properties from misuse and ensures proper management for the welfare of marginalized Muslims.
पिछले कुछ दिनों में जो बयानात देखने में आए हैं कि लोगों को ये जज्बाती तकरीर करके बताया जा रहा है कि आपकी मस्जिद छीन जाएंगी, दरगाहें छीन जाएंगी, इमाम बाड़े छीन जाएंगे, ये बातें सरासर गलत है. देखिए, डेमोक्रेसी में पक्ष विपक्ष, सहमति असहमति एक डेमोक्रेसी का पार्ट है.
A stormy Lok Sabha session is expected in the parliament as the centre has reintroduced the contentious Waqf Amendment Bill. Union Minority Affairs Minister Kiren Rijiju has tabled the bill for consideration and passage in the lower house. Its passage is going to play a pivotal role in shaping the future of these assets for the betterment of social welfare.
Afghan refugees in Pakistan are decrying deportation that is set to start this week. Pakistan, citing security concerns, has continued its repatriation drive despite international criticism.
Afghan refugees in Pakistan relocated to a camp in Pakistan's Khyber Pakhtunkhwa have decried the decision by the government of their long-term home as deportations are set to start this week. Pakistan's Interior Ministry had set a March 31 deadline for all illegal foreigners and Afghan citizen card holders to leave, with deportations beginning April 1, but delays due to Eid pushed it to April 2nd.
سوچ موږ سره ظلم دی زیاتی دی ځکه چې اوس یو سړی په خاو بدو پوه شو په پاکستان کې خوري او سکي که نه پاکستان اوس موږ داسې دی لکه خپل ملک ځکه چې بچپن نه زه ګرځم پاکستان کې داسې یو ملک نه دی چې ما نه دی پاتې شکر الحمدلله ما ته پکې نه چا څه ویلي دي نه را سره ظلم شوی نه را سره زیاتی شوی دی نو موږ پاکستان نه دا خواست کوو او دا ترې غوښتنه کوو چې زموږ افغانیانو سره داسې یو رویه وچلیږي چې موږ دلته پاتې شو موږ خفه نه شو
موږ یو د اصل نه د افغانستان لکه پیدا شم د پاکستان نه موږ مشران چې اده ټول د پاکستان کې پیدا شوي موږ یې کشران یو نو اوس چې فلحال موږ افغانستان له لاړ شو موږ نه په افغانستان کې خپل ځای پېژنو نه مطلب داسې څوک انډیوالان یاران دوستان دا نشته موږ چې افغانستان له لاړ شو نو په افغانستان کې څوک هم زموږ مطلب پېژندګلا نشته دی موږ ته په افغانستان کې ډېر زیات تکلیف په پاکستان کې شوي خوشحالۍ خو پکې راغټ شوي وو پکې خواړه او زاړه او ټول پکې پېژنو انډیوالان دي یاران دوستان هم دي
Islamabad links Afghan migrants to security concerns, blaming them for militant attacks and crime, a claim Kabul rejects. Pakistan's repatriation drive launched in 2023 has seen over 800,000 Afghan refugees return, though it still hosts around 2.8 million refugees, including thousands awaiting resettlement in Western nations.
Moving on. Education in Pojk is at a crossroads, with government schools struggling to provide quality learning while private institutions continue to raise costs unchecked. A report.
The deteriorating state of education in Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir has left residents with little choice but to turn to private institutions despite the heavy financial strain. Government schools plagued by corruption, inadequate infrastructure and political interference continue to fall short of providing quality education, forcing parents to bear the high costs of private schooling in an increasingly competitive world.
लेकिन अब यहाँ पे मसला ये है कि जो सरकारी इदारे हैं वहाँ पे सियासी मदाखलत बहुत बड़ी तादाद में होती है। कुछ इदारे ऐसे हैं जहाँ पे बड़े हाईली क्वालिफाइड टीचर्स बैठे हैं, वो काम भी करना चाह रहे होंगे लेकिन सियासी मदाखलत की वजह से वो काम नहीं कर पा रहे या उन्हें काम नहीं करने दिया जा रहा और फिर उनको अपने तबादला जहात का भी डर होता है कि कहीं एक टीचर है उसको उठा के 200-300 किलोमीटर दूर भी लगा दिया जाता है सियासी मदाखलत की वजह से। अगर तो ये सब चीज़ें हुकूमत ठीक करे तालीमी सेटअप को तो फिर तो बहुत कुछ बेहतर हो सकता है, लेकिन अगर ये सब चीज़ें नहीं सेट की जा सकती तो फिर प्राइवेट जो अदारे हैं वो दिन ब दिन आवाम को दोनों हाथों से ऐसे ही आवाम से वो पैसे भी बटोर रहे हैं।
For years, residents of Pojk have demanded better governance and educational reforms. However, the ground reality remains grim. Meanwhile, private institutions, unchecked and unregulated, continue to exploit parents with soaring costs.
And activists from Bangladesh staged a protest in Geneva and called for global action against rising extremism and human rights violations in Bangladesh, accusing the interim government of shielding criminals and suppressing dissent. A report.
Members of the All-European Freedom Fighter Sangsad staged a protest outside the UNHRC headquarters in Geneva, urging global action against extremism, terrorism, and the persecution of ethnic minorities in Bangladesh. The activists accused the Bangladesh government, led by Muhammad Yunus, of shielding criminals and granting impunity to perpetrators of violence. The protesters also criticized the Bangladeshi government's crackdown on journalists, human rights activists, and lawyers, many of whom have been imprisoned under mass murder charges. They called for an updated UN fact-finding mission to investigate these alleged violations, emphasizing the need for international intervention. The demonstration comes amid growing concerns over rising crimes against women and minorities in Bangladesh, with activists demanding accountability and justice.
We would like to have a report of fact-finding initiative up to date. So the UN fact-finding mission earlier did not establish liability as to who were responsible for these deaths. So the government instead has accused mass murder cases against over 200 journalists, human rights activists, lawyers are put behind bars for committing mass murder. It's unheard of, unthinkable. So the UN report fell short of identifying liability, and we invite the human rights initiative to investigate as well as come for a fact-finding mission of what's happening since the government took over to date. Because there has been so much atrocities against the minorities, against women.
The government of Nepal has issued an appeal to the general public, urging them to refrain from participating in demonstrations organized by monarchist groups. The announcement came following a cabinet meeting on Tuesday, where Minister for Communications and Information Technology, Prithvi Subba Gurung, conveyed the government's stance on the escalating protests. The government of Nepal sincerely appeals to the general public not to get involved in such chaotic activities, Gurung said, referring to the violent clashes on March 28 that resulted in 2 deaths. The cabinet meeting also tasked the Ministry of Home Affairs with investigating the Tinkane incident, where protests turned violent, and ensure that those responsible are held accountable. Authorities have also been directed to implement measures to prevent similar incidents in the future. One of the bloodiest pro-monarch protests in Nepal's history, the March 28 protest, called by pro-monarchist forces, sent a spree of violence across capital. The clashes resulted in injuries to 55 police personnel, 22 members of the armed police force, and 52 civilians. The government has vowed to investigate the vandalism and arson and prosecute those responsible. More than 100 protesters, including senior leaders of the Rashtriya Prajatantra Party, have been arrested in connection with the violence. In 2008, former King Gyanendra Shah stepped down from the throne after Parliament voted to abolish Nepal's 240-year-old Hindu monarchy. But since then, Nepal has had 13 democratic governments, and many in the country have grown frustrated with the republic, blaming it for a struggling economy and widespread corruption. That's all in tonight's edition. We'll see you same time tomorrow. Good night.